I kept the gate locked while a row of SUVs idled at my fence, their headlights crawling over the cedar rails, like they were testing the wood for weakness, and the HOA president told me she'd fine me into cooperation if I didn't open up. And by sunrise, my name was in a community email, calling me a problem for property values, with a hearing notice stapled to a $750 bill, like a warning label you can't peel off. That should have been the end of it. Shame the guy, squeeze him, make him fold. Except I've spent nearly 3 decades in environmental enforcement, which teaches you 2 things. Paper is power, and bullies hate documents. So when Olivia Crane perfect blazer pearls that threw little sparks in the morning light said, "Open the gate." "Our gala guests need the shortcut," I answered the way my old field chief taught me. Calm, specific, unshakable. "Show me the easement." She waved a page of guidelines. Not an easement, not a recorded right-of-way. Just the kind of language people like to flash when they don't actually have title, and when the tuxedo line behind her started snapping photos like they'd caught Bigfoot. I felt that old heat climb my neck, then I did the only thing that felt honest. I set the latch down and said, "Not through my driveway." Olivia's smile thinned. The convoy peeled away toward the long road with a hiss of gravel, and she threw her parting shot over her shoulder. "Emergency board session Monday, 7. If you skip it, the fines double, the way a person tosses a match at dry leaves." The next morning, the community app exploded with a post called "Community Spirit, a Teachable Moment." No name in paragraph 1. My closed gate photo at the bottom like a mug shot. Comments piling up fast. Selfish, not a team player. Move to the woods if you hate neighbors. You know what I mean. It's amazing how fast people will build a story for you when you stop telling your own. I shut the laptop, stared at my filing cabinet like it had been waiting for this day, pulled open drawers, and there they were. The 1974 plat that showed the old logging spur skirting my corner with a dotted line. Nobody had ever recorded a 2006 temporary construction access agreement that died in 2016 or at clubhouse completion in 2009. Whichever came first, a county note from an old culvert permit that literally said permissive use, not by right. Paper is power, and it was stacked on my kitchen table in neat little piles that didn't raise their voice. Neighbors texted the kind of messages that start with, "Hey man, nothing personal, but..." And I felt that familiar slide from irritated to isolated to steady. Because once I have the map, I stop wandering. So I called a lawyer. I trust a quiet blade named Aaron Pike, sent him scans. Listened to him say they find you before a hearing. Their own bylaws require notice first, and there's no easement on record, and I heard myself breathe for the first time all weekend. Monday night smelled like cheap coffee and damp carpet at the community center. Rows of folding chairs, a projector screen that said Cedar Hollow Values, and Olivia standing at the middle of the board table like a cruise director for righteous indignation, easing the room in with soft words, cooperation, harmony, amdor, before hitting the slides of my closed gate from 3 angles and calling it a pattern. Even dredging up that year, I didn't do the holiday lights contest, as if taste in icicles proved a criminal mind, and people laughed in that weak way. Crowds do when they want to belong to something, anything. When she finally opened the floor, I brought my folder to the front set of the 1974 plat, under the projector, tapped the dotted line across my corner, and said quietly, "A developer's markup isn't an easement." Then put up the 2006 access agreement, traced my finger to its expiration clause, and slid. Bylaw 8. 3 to the board. Fines require notice and a hearing before punishment. And I said, "You can't punish then." Trial, that's cute in movies but not in Oregon. And the room changed temperature. Olivia tried to pivot to principles, reasonable access, community spirit. And I said, "Principles live in documents. Show me the recorded right-of-way, and I'll apologize to this entire room." And that's when Gregory, the treasurer, who looks like he keeps spare integrity in his pocket, leaned into the paperwork and asked the only question that mattered. "Do we have a recorded easement?" And silence moved like a shadow from the board table into the seats. The vote to uphold my fine didn't happen. Not because I suddenly became prom king, but because questions multiplied. Do we have other expired agreements who authorized event traffic down a residential driveway? What else lives on long-standing practice instead of title? And by Tuesday, the county clerk had confirmed what the papers on my table had already said. No recorded easement over my parcel construction access. Closed out years ago. Stopped treating margin notes like law. And Olivia pushed a clarification email that said, "Law is complicated, and community is simple. And for safety, we need access for emergency vehicles." Then dropped a stock photo of a fire truck for drama. So I called the fire chief and he said, "We use the main road. That spurs a tire trap. If someone told you we needed it, they were selling something." And I laughed in that half-sick way you do when the obvious finally shows up wearing a name tag. Midweek brought the twist that turns a story from stubborn neighbor versus rules into rules versus the person who thinks they're bigger than the rules, because the board secretary, hands shaking, voice small, read out an old email from 2016 where Olivia wrote to the previous president, "We'll keep using the driveway. It's been years. No one will fight this easier to ask forgiveness than permission." And the room went so quiet you could hear the fluorescent lights buzz, and Olivia said, "Context matters," which is what people say when they want the past to behave. But the damage was done. The story had snapped to a new title. Thursday night, the board agenda listed, "Title clarification before fine hearing," which told me they finally understood sequence. And when Gregory read the county letter into the record and asked if I'd consent to temporary event access, while they figured things out, I said yes with conditions. Signed license proof of event insurance. Traffic plan, the fire chief signs off on. Otherwise, no. And Mason from next door, who usually nods and keeps walking, said, "You don't negotiate when you own the right," which made a couple people chuckle, and Olivia looked like she'd bitten her tongue. That's when gravity did its work. Motion to rescind my fine for due process violations. Then motion to remove Olivia for acting without authority and exposing the association to legal risk. And if you've ever watched a room vote on a person who assumed she would never be voted on, you know the feeling, the breath everyone holds, because they've been living in somebody else's script then one by one. The eyes landed the secretary, the treasurer, the member at large. And Olivia didn't say a word, just stared at the table like there was a trap door she could still find, if she stared hard enough. And Gregory said, "Motion carries." And that was that. I didn't cheer. I didn't spike a football. I took my folder home and set it on the kitchen table and scratched my dog behind the ears until my hands stopped shaking and the gate was still locked because it was mine, and the clubhouse road still curved the same way it always had, and the river kept moving under all of it like time. People told me later I should have been nicer or meaner, or that I care too much about rules, and maybe they're right. Maybe I am a stickler. But here's what I know. Rules are either fences that protect everyone or sticks someone uses to beat you with, And the line between those two is not tone or personality. It's paperwork, process, accountability. The boring stuff that keeps power from becoming a personality test. You know what I mean? If community only matters when the person in charge likes who it protects, that's not a community. That's a club with dues and a dress code and a security detail with clipboards. I'm not asking anyone to love gates. I'm asking people to stop calling a shortcut. Oh, right. Yeah, that happened. And I won't pretend it didn't feel good to hear motion carries. But I'm also not going to pretend it fixes the bigger thing, the way some folks use the word neighbor, like a screwdriver, a tool for prying open what isn't theirs. So tell me this, in your town, your building, your life is community, something you use to cooperate, or something someone uses to control. Have you seen a rule get bent until it became someone's personality? Where do you draw the line between being a good neighbor and being a doormat, and if you've ever been called uncooperative for protecting your boundary? Say so in the comments or call me. Right. Call me wrong, argue it out. Because the only way this gets better is if people stop letting the loudest voice be the only map in the room.